Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Zeke-ollege football. This episode, we're going to do something a little different. So, uh, what you've known me for so far is going through conference by conference and figuring out which of these teams are going to be the best in college football. But college football is only one part of the equation, all right? NFL football, everyone knows it, everyone loves it. There is always that second level that some of our favorite college stars do reach once they graduate. So, with the NFL draft starting up this weekend, I think it's about time that I go and give my mock draft for round one of the 2024 NFL draft. Now, couple caveats before we dive into things. One, I am not an expert. I'm not a mind reader. If my predictions come true, that's great. If they don't come true, too bad. Second thing, second, I am not implementing any draft day trades into my mock. It just gets a little bit too complicated, and what I might view as realistic compensation for something, uh, other people might not. So just to avoid any sort of confusion in that sense, I'm not doing any trades. Now, uh, I feel like people have a relatively similar idea about which players are at the top of these certain positions. I'm using the Pro Football Network's rankings, as well as looking at what they viewed as team needs for these teams as well. So, with those caveats out of the way, let's get started. So, at the first pick, the Bears have this pick courtesy of the Carolina Panthers. And I don't think it's much of a surprise. Once they traded away Justin Fields, I feel like everyone started to realize, yeah, I think the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams out of USC. He's my quarterback one in this draft, and it's pretty clear to see why. He makes throws that not a lot of players can make, and really his skill set is fantastic. He's elusive. He has pinpoint accuracy. Uh, he can make plays when plays seem like they really shouldn't be made, um, in the way that he makes something out of nothing. Now, some of the downsides of his game, he will sometimes play outside of structure when structure might be a little bit better. That could probably be coached out of him. Also, some people think that he's a little bit of a diva as well. You know, these things it could be true. Um, I don't see a diva as much as I see a cocky player. And having a little bit of a cocky attitude isn't really going to drop you, at least in my mock draft, if you can back it up. And I think Williams can back it up. Now, this is where a lot of people have some sort of disagreement. Number two, the Washington Commanders. Uh, for a lot of people, it's either a toss up between Drake May or Jaden Daniels. I think the Commanders would probably pick Drake May there. Um, you know, uber talented quarterback out of North Carolina, great accuracy. He has that North Carolina connection with Sam Howell, uh, and Howell can, sort of mentor him up a little bit. Obviously, Howell's not a seasoned veteran, but you can mentor him up. Um, I think that's a good spot for Drake May. And he is my quarterback too, as well. Now, if you do not know, if you're new to the channel, just seeing this video, I am a New England Patriots fan, Boston born and raised. So It's been a while since we've seen the Patriots pick up this high, and for good reason. We've been fantastic for the better part of 2 decades. So a little bit of unprecedented territory. I see us going quarterback. I don't see any scenario in which we don't. Trading down doesn't really seem like an option for me. If you're Kraft or Gerard Mayo, it's just you can't do it. The fan base will not accept a trade down here. You sucked last year, and you have to pick a quarterback here. We're not going into the season with Jacoby Brissett as our main guy of the future. It's just not going to happen. That ship sailed back in 2016. So I see us going Jaden Daniels from LSU at number 3. Our offensive line is solid. Daniels a great downfield passer. Obviously, team still has needs. But I see us addressing quarterback first with our first pick here. Daniels, also a great, talented runner. His concerns are his size, specifically that he's very thin. He's not injury prone, but he could be. He does take a lot of big hits, so it's going to be something that the coaching staff has to work with him on. But I like Jaden Daniels a lot, talented player, and I see him going number 3 to the Patriots. Now, Cardinals, they already have quarterback squared away. They gave a big money deal to Kyler Murray. Their needs are really at receiver. Their receiver depth is horrendous, especially when DeAndre Hopkins left them. So I see them picking up Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State with pick number 4. MHJ, a fantastic athlete, great ball control, good route running, strong at the point of the catch. I see him with the number 4 pick. Now, for number 5, the Chargers. This is a spot where I think the Chargers will probably trade out of the pick. It'll probably be a trade with a team that's hungry for a quarterback that doesn't want a quarterback to get to the New York Giants at pick 6. I see the Chargers in this draft, because there are no trades allowed. In this draft, I see them going with Malik Nabers at number 6. Their wide receiver depth is lacking, to say the least, especially after they lose big pieces like Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. I don't see a way that they don't go receiver there. Now, obviously, if there's a trade happening and they get other draft picks, pieces, etc., there might be some differences. But for the purpose of this mock draft, Malik Nabers at number 5. Now, Nabers, another talented player, continuing that string of good wide receivers coming out of LSU. He's not the only LSU player, LSU wide receiver in this draft, and not the only LSU wide receiver that I think will go in the first round. Spoiler alert for a little later. Now, up next, the Giants. It says their needs are wide receiver, cornerback, running back, safety, and offensive tackle. Now, it would be a bit of a reach to pick up a wide receiver here. The next best one is Rome Odunze, but I see him a little bit later on. I'd see no cornerbacks really catching my eye to go as a top 6 pick. Certainly not going to pick a running back in the first round. I see offensive tackle. I see Joe Alt. Alt, a fantastic blocker. Notre Dame historically has produced good offensive linemen. Alt comes from an NFL background. 6'7", he's huge. Overall, great player. Now, this is probably upsetting for the Titans. They need an offensive tackle as well. You see Joe Alt go before you. Good news, you still have Olu Fashanu from Penn State. So that's who they're going to take with that seventh pick. So back-to-back tackles, Joe Alt and then Olu Fashanu. Now, if you're the Falcons, you're sitting pretty right now. Because all of the positions that have been picked so far, wide receiver, you have relatively squared away. Quarterback, you have relatively squared away. Uh, if you wanted to pick someone to develop under Kirk Cousins, you could, but you have that squared away now. So what they need is an edge player, and I see Dallas Turner sitting on the board. So that's where he's going to go. Dallas Turner, defensive end from Alabama. Another great player. Alabama produces these players like clockwork. So I see Turner at number 8. Now we get back to the Bears at number 9. This is their actual pick. And I see them taking Rome Odunze here. Now, in some other mocks, I've had them go with Brock Bowers. But right now, biggest need is a wide receiver. They could get an edge player like Laiatu Latu as well, but it would be a little bit of a reach. I think Rome Odunze to pair up with your new quarterback, Caleb Williams, I think that's a good move. And then number 10, I see the Jets. They need a tight end. All of the best wide receivers are off the board at this point. I see them taking Brock Bowers at 10. So just to go over that top 10 again, it's Caleb Williams at 1, Drake May at 2, at 3, Jaden Daniels, 4, Marvin Harrison Jr., 5, Malik Neighbors, 6, Joe Alt, 7, Olu Fashanu, 8, Dallas Turner, 9, Rome Odunze, and 10, Brock Bowers. And now we get to the Vikings pick at number 11. I see them picking J.J. McCarthy here. I don't think they let McCarthy get by them. If I was to be honest, I would probably see them trading up just to make sure that another team doesn't get JJ. Because if there were trades allowed, you might see the Broncos try to move up. You might see the Raiders try to move up. A lot of these teams that don't have a clear answer at QB looking for something long-term. But because there's no trades in my mock, Vikings luck out and have J.J. McCarthy fall to them at pick 11. Now we get to the Broncos. And the Broncos, they need a quarterback still. They do. But, it's one of those things where most of the best quarterbacks are already gone. And I did make this mock draft before they traded for Zach Wilson. I don't think that's going to influence the mock too much. He's more of a project player at this point. But I did see them reaching a bit, the Broncos, and picking Michael Penix Jr. Good downfield passer, quarterback out of Washington, accurate player. Does have some injury concerns, but I don't see them missing out on a quarterback, and especially not taking the chance that Penix Jr. will stay off the board. Now, I could also see them going Bo Nix in the second round, but I think that their biggest need right now is quarterback. Their quarterback room has a lot to be desired. Right now, it's Zach Wilson, Jared Stidham, and Ben DiNucci. And you're just not going to win a lot of games with that. So moving on to 13, we have the Raiders. I see them going Talisi Fuaga from Oregon State. the offensive tackle there. They need a couple things. One of them is a quarterback, unless you're a big Aiden O'Connell fan, but offensive tackle also a need. So I see them going with the best offensive tackle still on the board in Talisi Fuaga. Now with the Saints, they need uh, offensive tackle. It's a bit early for them to get that. Offensive guard, too early to pick up an offensive guard. Defensive tackle, it would be a bit of a reach to get any of the D tackles at pick 14. So I see them going with Laiatu Latu, the defensive end out of UCLA, at pick number 14. They need edge. Cam Jordan's getting old. So I see that as their best option there. Now for the Colts, they need wide receiver, they need cornerback. Terrion Arnold, my quarterback one on the board. I see them picking him. Good in coverage. Again, Alabama corners for the most part have been pretty good. You look at like Pat Surtain. You look at I'm blanking on some other. There's plenty of Alabama corners in the league. At Marlon Humphrey, you're gonna get at least a solid corner from them, and Terrion Arnold certainly looks to be one. Now, on to the Seahawks. They need defensive tackle. They need a guard, a center, a linebacker. Those have good players, but it would be a bit of a reach. I probably see them trading back a little bit, try to pick up more assets in the actual draft. But in here, I see them going and picking my defensive tackle number one on my board, which is Byron Murphy. Big, talented, athletic player out of Texas. I see him going at pick 16. Then the Jaguars. They need a cornerback. Quinyon Mitchell at Toledo. I watched a lot of Toledo games last year, and he was locked down, a ball hawk. Obviously, there are gonna be concerns. Oh yeah, his competition was against the MAC, but he did his job, and he has a pretty good physical tool set. So I see them picking up Mitchell at 17, and then for 18, I see the Bengals picking up Johnny Newton. Now, the Bengals' biggest issue isn't their roster as much as it is injuries, making sure Joe Burrow stays healthy, making sure Jamar Chase stays healthy, T. Higgins stays healthy. That's the biggest concern. Now, if you're the Rams at 19, you're probably pretty happy because one of the things that they need is they need an edge player. Cornerback and edge. Two cornerbacks off the board already. A couple edges off the board. But you see Jared Verse sitting there, and you're taking Jared Verse. Talented player out of Florida State. Transferred over from UAlbany in the CAA. And is a one-man wrecking crew. So I'm pretty happy if getting Jared Verse. Obviously, you can't replace Aaron Donald, but certainly one step to working towards that. Now, the Steelers need offensive line. And I see Troy Fautanu, the offensive tackle from Washington, going at pick 20 to Pittsburgh. And then back-to-back offensive tackle picks, I see the Dolphins picking up J.C. Latham from Alabama as well. Now, as we move on to pick 22, I see uh, the Eagles making a, I would say, a pretty good decision. I'm pretty high on Cooper DeJean from Iowa. I see him more as a corner than a safety, and the Eagles need corner, so I see them picking him there. So at pick 22, I see Eagles going with Cooper DeJean. So let's do a quick recap. Um, Once again, at 11, I see the Vikings taking J.J. McCarthy. 12, Broncos taking Michael Penix Jr. 13, Raiders with Talisi Fuaga. 14, Laiatu Latu to the Saints. 15, Terrion Arnold to the Colts. 16, Byron Murphy to the Seahawks. 17, Quinyon Mitchell to the Jags. 18, Johnny Newton to the Bengals. 19, Jared Verse to the Rams. 20, Troy Fautanu to the Steelers. 21, J.C. Latham to the Dolphins. And then 22, Cooper DeJean to the Eagles. Now, as we reach the final stretch, Vikings have another pick. I see them going offensive guard here. A lot of the best defensive tackles are off the board. And I see them picking up Christian Haynes from UConn. Best offensive guard in the draft, in my personal opinion. So I see him going there. At 24, Cowboys need an offensive tackle. I see them going Amarius Mims from Georgia. And then we get to the Packers. Now, the Packers are another team that needs cornerback. I see them going Nate Wiggins at 24. So the Buccaneers pick next. Pick number 26. They need an edge player, and Chop Robinson from Penn State is still on the board. I see Chop Robinson going to the Bucs. Now the Cardinals get to pick again. If you remember earlier on, they picked Marvin Harrison Jr., so the wide receiver room is looking better. They'll probably pick up another guy, maybe day 2, maybe day 3, because their wide receiver room looks pretty sparse. But another need that they have is cornerback. And towards the top of the board is Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama. An all-name team selection, but I think he'd be a good fit for the Cardinals. You know, again, Cardinals have a lot of needs, and cornerback is one of them, so fits pretty easily in there. Now, next up for the Bills, they need wide receiver. Stephon Diggs is gone. Gabe Davis is gone. In comes Brian Thomas Jr., the other LSU wide receiver other than Malik Nabers. I think that, it's just pretty telling to look at the LSU offense, to have 3 of your offensive players picked in the first round. It makes sense to me. Bills need a wide receiver. Brian Thomas, best wide receiver left on the board. Now, at 29, the Lions need another edge player opposite from Aiden Hutchinson. And I see Darius Robinson from Missouri on the board. He is one of those players who just made an impact wherever you saw him on the field. I watched a lot of Missouri. If you're a follower of this channel, you know that I am a Missouri fan. And he just was a one-man wrecking crew. Racked up some great stats, rose up in the Senior Bowl, and even better, he's from Michigan, so it makes sense for him to go to his home team, go to the Lions at pick number 29. Now, for the Ravens at 30, they need a wide receiver. Um, I see them going Adonai Mitchell out of Texas. Uh, Good route runner, has some speed. He's not the quickest on his team, but he's still a very fast wide receiver and just finds his way open. And then for the final two picks, 49ers, they need an offensive guard and an offensive tackle. I think they address guard here and pick Cooper Beebe from Kansas State. Um, he was the second guard on my rankings. And then finally, for wide receiver, for the Chiefs, I see them going Keon Coleman to complete that mock. So that right there is my first round mock draft. If you disagree with any of my picks, feel free to let me know. If you agree with any of my picks, feel free to let me know. Again, text your opinions to via Instagram to at Zeke.ollege football. That is ZEKE.OLLEGE or drop a comment down here on the YouTube video that is going to be up right now if you're seeing this. So feel free to let me know your thoughts and have a nice rest of your afternoon.
Jim and Rodeo.